my screen?
Yes, and we are recording already. Great.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sophie, and my PhD is indeed about radon health communication. And I'd like to start my presentation by confessing that before I applied for this position, I had never heard from radon before. So as soon as I got accepted and learned more about the risks, I tested my own home for just for the sake of getting familiar with the process, because I already knew that I lived in a low risk area. So I looked for information online. I ordered a test and I got sent a letter and a test kit by mail. As you can see, the letter is quite formal. It's just a regular letter with a lot of information and a lot of instructions, written instructions. So I followed these instructions, tested my home for 3 months, and then after a few weeks, I got the result back stating that my house was safe as expected. Now, I just want to highlight my experience here because I actively seek information and I actively ordered a test and sent it back just for the purpose of getting to know the process. But based on these communication materials, can you imagine your parents or grandparents testing their homes for radon levels? Their homes that they probably lived for many, many years and that they consider as a safe place, potentially risking the need for construction work or remediation. If yes, then perfect, very great. But if no, your parents or grandparents are really no different than a lot of other people. The literature shows that there is a discrepancy between awareness and behavior. So on one hand side, we see that people are sometimes just not aware of the risks. And if you're not aware, it's very unlikely that you'll perform the specific behavior, of course. But on the other hand side, we see that people often are in fact aware of the issue, but they still don't act. So the testing and the mitigating rates remain quite low. So in my PhD, we will investigate the role of mass media to persuade people to actually take action. And until this day, the mass media communication to increase testing and mitigating has been quite traditional, using a lot of leaflets and brochures and adopting quite a formal, very informative tone of voice. And these communication interventions were often quite successful in raising awareness. However, when it comes to behavior change, there was little to no change observed. So testing and remediation rates remained quite low. But this comes really as not a big surprise, because a lot of these studies focus on mainly on awareness as being the predictor of behavior. But there is actually far more to it, because behavior can be broken down in a lot of steps. People have to decide to test, they have to order a test, perform the test, understand the result, and so on. So it's a lot more complicated than it might seem at first sight. Mass media, however, offers a lot of opportunities to follow people throughout this process. For instance, what if your parents' favorite soap opera incorporated a storyline where a family tested their homes for radon and went through the mitigation process? Could that perhaps help your parents be convinced to test their own homes? Or what if we could design an interactive social media campaign that aligns with these stages of behavior? So mass media has a lot of opportunities to address these issues. And that is why the objective of my PhD is to design a theory and evidence-based mass media communication intervention to increase protective behavior with regards to indoor radon. And how will we do this? Well, in 3 stages. So first stage is more exploratory research. Currently, we're conducting a systematic literature review about past mass media communication interventions about radon. But we're also planning on conducting interviews with current campaign makers, and focus groups with homeowners and public opinion surveys will help us gain more insight in why people don't really act. Then we will use this information to formulate specific objectives with regards to behavior, but also determinants. And then we will map these behaviors to behavior change methods from the literature. And then we can start designing the intervention and test it first in a lab experiment and then implement it in a field experiment. So what is next? It is my job to question the current communication materials and see if we could use mass media to perhaps improve it, so that no other people should have to Google radon first before applying for a job. But most importantly, I really hope that in 3.5 years already by now, I could replace the question mark with a theory and evidence-based communication intervention that does make a difference and that will in fact persuade your parents and grandparents to test their homes as well. So this was my PhD in a nutshell. If you have any questions or ideas or comments, please do not hesitate to contact me through any of the channels mentioned on the slides. Thank you.